Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Today, I wanted to discuss some of the game delays that we've seen, and I wanted to speak about something that I feel is sending a little bit of some shockwaves in the industry. Now, if you look, Cyberpunk 2077 was delayed all the way through the fall. Also, Marvel's Avengers was delayed all the way through the fall, and I think Dying Light 2 has also been delayed. So far, so good. There isn't a definite date. Another thing too that many of you may not necessarily have added to that pile is the list of Ubisoft releases that have also been delayed as well. If you guys remember, Ubisoft is the kind of company that can come out with like 2 to 3 titles in a year sometimes. And so with them delaying all these games, I want to go ahead and just speak on this and, talk about why I feel like this is happening. Now, there are a few reasons. So Ubisoft, you can't necessarily, taper them with everybody else because their situation is a little bit unique. They had some sales flops in terms of Ghost Recon Breakpoint. They didn't have impressive sales with the Division 2. And so they made the decision to go ahead and postpone their game. Cyberpunk 2077, the official, reason is that they want to make sure the game is 100% polished. A lot of people have said that's great. In terms of Marvel Avengers, they also gave some kind of excuse that once I just saw it was delayed, I didn't even bother reading. It's one of those things where you're just like, really, what's going on? It's really weird. And then in Dying Light, that was also another one that came to play. And then another sneaky one that you also have to talk about, which has not been either delayed nor has it been confirmed, is Warner Brothers Montreal's Batman game that is in the shadows that nobody really knows much of other than a sign and a symbol. So major video games, close to 6 or 7 AAA titles are being delayed. What in the world is going on? Now, for one, I can say there is now a very thin window for you to be able to screw up. In the past, many companies were able to get away with broken releases, get away with issues that came out with the game. They could just ship it forward. And I think Ubisoft is kind of the case study with a lot of these companies. Now, everybody is able to bring a game forward. You can always say, Cyberpunk did not want to, compete with Final Fantasy VII, and Final Fantasy VII seemed like it was going to be a big game, and Final Fantasy VII did not want to compete with Capcom because both of them are actually big names. They're old games and they have a lot of name recognition. You can throw that reason out there, and it could be valid. There's nothing wrong with it. But I think genuinely, the major aspect is, even though many of these companies don't want to sit in the same bucket with everybody else, they understand that the gaming scene right now is super competitive and there is no room, neither is there enough margin for error. Now, if you take a look at these companies and the delayed games, you can say, okay, we can take at face value what they've actually said is their reason for delaying the games. Square has definitely gone ahead to say, in terms of Avengers, we're bringing it out in a few months. Okay, great. Cyberpunk, also CD Projekt Red. In the case of Cyberpunk 2077, we're bringing that out in a few months. That game has already received a lot of pre-orders, especially Cyberpunk. I know that for sure. And even the Avengers game has also received some pre-orders. Now, those two games I think are going to be coming out. But then you look at a game like Dying Light that's been, inevitably, postponed. So what would you do with that, especially with Warner Brothers being the publisher? I think that Warner Brothers wants to leverage the new generation of gaming consoles. It's very clear to me anyways. If you look at the way they did in the PS4 release in terms of when that game came out, they had like 3 to 5 titles right off the bat. In fact, in the very first few years of that console reaching market, Warner Brothers pretty much almost front-loaded a lot of his titles. I can name Batman, Arkham Knight off the top of my head. I can name Mad Max. You also look at Dying Light, the first Dying Light. So these were some major titles. And then maybe if you want to put out some of the Lego stuff out there and some of the other Hitman, and then a porting of Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor to the PS4 for, just a full port, not like something that was, a backward compatibility thing with Xbox One, if you understand what I mean. So I think these are some of the reasons for Warner Brothers in that case. And then with their Batman game that they're not talking about, this Batman game, I definitely think they also want to leverage the new generation. So you're probably going to be seeing a lot of their games on the front load. Now, in terms of, let's say, a company like Cyberpunk and even Square. I think these two companies have mostly done a lot of their development work. And right now they understand that with the new generation, they probably want to take some time to make sure that their game is all, polished and all of that, because I don't think with what happened to Ubisoft in 2019, any of these companies can afford to take that kind of risk. If you remember Crystal Dynamics, last major game that was released around the fall season, that was Shadow of the Tomb Raider. That game, very shortly after it was released, went on sale. Now, I don't know if that means that the game didn't sell well, but I don't think the game was a major success because it came out in the shadows of Spider-Man on PS4. So I don't think Crystal Dynamics wants to really play those games by bringing out Square Enix nonetheless wants to play those games by publishing a major game on the heels of Capcom publishing their own major Resident Evil game and then going on the back end to try to publish another game just a few months down the road. I don't think they want to take that kind of financial hit. Plus, if the Avengers game, which a lot of people had said, we don't feel like this game looks ready because of how much the information that was put out there was very limited. A lot of people just felt like this game was not in the right place. And I think they just understand that. And they're like, man, if we bring out this game right now, if we crunch and go bring out this game and it's buggy, we don't want what happened to Ubisoft or what happened to us in 2018 to show itself, to rear its head again. In terms of CD Projekt Red, everybody has said, perhaps the game requires more polish. It's very ambitious. We don't know the scope of this game, but judging from the last project that CD Projekt Red has done, you can just tell yourself that, man, this Night City is going to be big and going to be a very interactive world. With all the investment that's been put into Cyberpunk 2077, this is literally a government grant that was given to CD Projekt Red to work on this game, and the game has been in the works for close to 8 years now. And so with all of that investment, I don't think they can afford to fail. I think when that game is coming out, that game needs to come out polished on every single platform that it hits, be it the PS4, the Xbox One, or PCs. And even with the next generation, if they're going to port to the next generation or be able to get their game compatible, I think they want everything to be harnessed to the fullest extent. So this is where I think there's a lot going on. Now we can drive back to Ubisoft and say, sure, maybe Ubisoft doesn't want to take a loss or whatever, but nonetheless, Ubisoft has made a whole bunch of money in the past few years. So I don't think their bank accounts are like drying up. I think many people, misunderstand, what targeted sales are or projected sales are versus actual sales in terms of all of that. Now, are they operating at a net loss? I don't think so. They haven't closed any studios. In fact, they are expanding some studios. They're bringing more talent in. They just brought in somebody who was a veteran of the Splinter Cell game, one of the old Splinter Cell games, back to the company to create a new creative directive team to kind of drive Ubisoft's vision. So Ubisoft, I think they have a bunch of money sitting around. I think one of the reasons they did that is because of the PR and the public perception. They did not want to, bring out a new game after failing at Ghost Recon Breakpoint, after also not meeting, the expectations of the Division 2. So all of that put together, they could not afford to bring any new game to the market because definitely that would have affected the sales of a new project, regardless of how they wanted to chalk it up. So they probably have to lay low, wait it out a little bit, and then even at the same time, work on porting their games or making their games compatible with the next generation of consoles or whatever it is. So it's not as simple as it looks. I mean, it's very complicated, but you have to just look at it from the money side. When you look at it from the money side, look at what the companies have done in the past and look at what you think they're going to do in the future. I think it's able to be to follow the trail and say, this is most likely the underlying reason. It's nice to give a public statement and say, this is why, which on the surface level, yes, you can also accept that is why. Dying Light, they said, we thought we were going to be able to bring this game in spring, but it just isn't happening. No problem. I don't think Warner Brothers wants any mistakes anyways. I think they want to bring out a fresh, wonderful game right off the bat. So that's pretty much my hypothesis as to why I think a lot of these games are getting delayed. If you follow the money, you will see that is the main reason. A lot of these companies are now fighting for, your shelves. They're fighting for your wallet. So I think everybody wants to behave themselves, especially now that they have a major opportunity. The major opportunity is that a lot of these consoles are going to be leaving the shelves as soon as they're coming out. Think about it. Right now, if you look at the West and the economy currently, there is a lot of, spend for consumers. Consumers are spending a lot more. PC market is growing bigger. The console market is not going to diminish that much. And so I think they understand that this opportunity that's coming ahead with PS5 and the Xbox One X, you have to make things right from the get-go. You do that, you're able to keep consumers for the life cycle of this new console generation. So that's pretty much it. No room for mistakes. Everybody's got to get their act together, which is a good thing in the long run for gamers. So that's my opinion. I appreciate you guys for watching the video. Thank you very much for your time and audience. If you want more content like this, stick with the Gamey Daddy channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.